Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Success Secrets of Real Estate Superstars. Today we have Jenny Smith on the call from Georgia. So she's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her team and her production for the year.
I'm Jenny Smith, and we operate out of Cartersville, Georgia, and our average sale price is about $225. This year, we're on track to do $37 million with 175 transactions. If everything closes, that's where we'll end up for the year.
Fantastic.
So we're excited about that.
So is it any different this year because of COVID? Is your production different this year?
You know, we did more this year than we did the year before, so that's great. But it's been a lot of very different clientele this year. We've dealt with people moving in and out more than we've had people moving from one house to another house in our same town.
Gotcha. So do you have your goal for next year?
I do. We are going to try to do 250 transactions and 60 million.
Fantastic. I love that goal. So tell me about your team makeup.
So I'm the team leader, and I primarily do listings. So I work with very few buyers. Typically, it's somebody who is a really good friend or one of my children, because my kids are becoming adults now. But other than that, mainly listings. Then we have Chad, that's my husband, and he does the signs. He does a lot of the technical side of the transaction, dealing with the systems that we have in place, all the email, all that kind of stuff. Then Chrissy has been on our team. This is her third year, and she primarily works with buyers, but she does do a few listings. Then Lindsay, and she's the same. She works with buyers and listings. And then we have Sarah, who only works with buyers at this point. And then Jenna is our operations manager, and her job is to keep me straight. And it's a full-time job most of the time.
I hear you. You know, we were talking before the call about your personality style. So to me, since we know each other, I always considered you as very organized. Is that the case?
No, that's very fake. I naturally am really disorganized, but I've learned I had to be organized in business. But like if you looked at my purse, my car, stuff is just everywhere. And where that shows up the most is in my head. Like I have so many just different ideas floating around that my thinking can be very disorganized. Now, what you see from the business side, public side, we have organized that at this point, but I'm still working on this part, getting it more organized.
So Chad helps you with the organization. Is he organized?
He is very organized, and he is very, he was in IT before we got into real estate. So everything's black and white with him. It's in this box or it's moved to this box, where my whole life and thinking is gray, just all over.
Creative, would you say?
Yeah, totally creative, yeah.
Totally creative, yeah.
Yeah.
So has it been smooth sailing getting to this high number of deals and this high production? Did you just start with this team? How did it go?
So, you know, this is the third time I've tried a team. The first time, I don't even think it lasted 6 months, and it just completely blew up. The second time we tried a team, it lasted for almost 2 years. Like I was starting to feel like, oh, I kind of have this, I know this is going well. Oh my goodness, it blew up in one day, and at the end of that day, I was left with me and Chad. That was it.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's so typical, you know, and some people think they're not born to have a team when it stops and trials like that, right?
Well, at that point, I said, I'm never doing a team again. I'm just never going to do it. It just blew up, and it was July. It blew up in July, which is, you know.
How did it blow up?
You know, the way I had run the team before was more of a, I don't want to say a partnership, but like if I talked to you and you said, I don't think that was a good idea, I didn't do it. It was much more, whoever was on the team had a lot of influence on which way we went and what we did. And when I decided I was going to structure it more, the first thing I wanted to do was to change our email address, because it had been like Jenny.Smith at our company name. Hers was her name at her company name. And I decided we were going to go under Jenny Smith and Associates. And when I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm so excited, it's going to be your name at Jenny Smith and Associates," she said no. And I said, "No, why?" And at that point, when she walked out of the room, she was no longer on the team over an email address. Like, we blew the team up over an email address.
Your personality style on the disc, I know you are a high D, right?
Mm-hmm.
What other parts of your personality do you think, I guess I'm going to ask the question, do you think helped your team with your personality, and what hindered your team?
So what helped my team is probably I'm a little bit of an introvert, and I spend a lot of time reading and thinking and planning. I'm probably one of these people, like, always doing some kind of planning. That has definitely helped the team. On the other side of the coin, I have this personality where if I get mad, I will burn the bridge just like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have trouble being what they call a bridge builder and not having a flame, just torching some bridges.
So that's a typical D personality style, right? When you're like, this is the way it's going to be, and if it doesn't happen, we're going to like stop that, right?
Yeah.
So how have you modified that? Have you modified that?
I am still working on that. I'm going to be honest. I'm still working on that. I have gotten better. I do try, like the other day, just something came up in the office and I told Jenna, I'm just going to have to take a walk before I deal with this. I'm going to have to walk off some of this excess energy, because if I get on the phone and it comes through, it's just going to come through as anger. Well, it was anger, but
Gotcha. Thinking back, because I really want these calls to help other people and to inspire other people, that it's just, it's not easy, and that I have never talked to anyone where it has been easy or where they hadn't gone through all these trials and tribulations. And it's almost like the more trials and tribulations people go through, the stronger they become.
Right. Yeah.
And not giving up. But when was the first time? How long have you been in real estate?
It'll be 8 years in March.
When did you start thinking, I want a team?
I had a team mindset pretty early on. Now, it's nothing like I have now, but my first thought to a team was all to make my life easier. And I thought if I did this team, I would make more money, have more free time, and everything would just be better in my life.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't. That's not why you should start a team,
So why wasn't it better?
Well, when you bring somebody on, you are committing to making them successful. So if you're still just in the early stages of being successful for yourself, you've got to have a whole lot of bandwidth to make you successful and them successful. The other thing a team does is when you get in that kind of close relationship of working with somebody, your faults pop up and you see them often and you have to deal with them. Or if you don't deal with them, like I didn't in the beginning, it just blows up.
Gotcha. And, I think it's also, you have Chad to compliment you, and you've hired to compliment you as well.
Yes. So like, of course, Chad is the calming, we call him the calming voice on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Jenna is highly organized and keeps everything kind of running smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And then like on the buyer's agents that have worked the best with us, even though they do listings too, but the team members there, most of them are way more outgoing than I am. What's
your dream for the future? I know you said you want to do 250. Is that what you said next year? 250 deals? Where do you see this, and do you even think about it beyond 1 year?
I kind of usually have a 3-year thought process going. I do make pretty detailed plans for 1 year, but I've always usually got my eye about 3 years out. And I just told Chad this morning, it's kind of funny because the 3-year goals that we had, this is going to be the year that we check those off. So we're kind of this year checking off some 3-year business goals that it's taken us 3 years to get here.
That feels great though.
It does. But I said, now we got to plan, where do we want to go in the next 3 years?
Yeah. So where would you like to take this? Are you competitive?
Oh gosh, yes. Yes, we are highly competitive. So I'm all the time watching. When you're competitive, you can be competitive without hoping for bad for them, and I want to make that distinction because some people are competitive where they want the other, whoever they're competing against, to lose.
Uh-huh.
I don't want them to lose. I just want to beat them. It's kind of,
I love that.
but yes, we usually always have our eye on whoever or wherever we want to be. And
Mhm.
they don't know it. I mean, it's not something, that you have to tell anybody, but we usually know, like, if we do this much, we will, for the first time in 3 years, pass that person,
How often do you check the success of others? I have this friend of mine that's like a very top agent. Every morning he goes into the MLS to see where he stands.
Yeah, I don't do that. Although would like to, but I usually check once a month. I'm about a once a month person.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Good. I know we were talking before the call. If you could go back and when you were talking about your stops and starts and your team fell apart, how long a period has that been since you first began your team?
The first team I would have started my first year in real estate.
So you knew early on, hey, did you start doing well right on?
I got my license in March, and that time frame, I did do, I mean, not rookie of the year, great, that kind of thing. I don't even know if the company we were at had rookie of the year, but nothing like that, but very stable. Like, it was going up and up. So
Uh-huh.
the first person that kind of joined our team, she had a full-time job, but she wanted to show houses on nights and weekends. And that was where I was struggling the most. You can only show so many buyers because it was all buyers back then. 3 or 4 listings would have been it. So that was kind of that first thought, oh, I can get her, and her stuff that came up during the day, like closings, final walkthroughs, stuff like that. I did them because I had plenty of time during the day while she was at work.
So if you could start all over 8 years ago, do you feel like you have to go through things and make mistakes? Or do you feel like, knowing what you know now, what would you do different?
I do think it's a growth process. I don't think anybody can start any type of business and not have to grow as a person, and leadership skills and sales skills and all that kind of thing. So I think we all go through growth through this. But the one thing, if I could do it differently, is I would learn to recognize which was a growth opportunity and when somebody else was trying to stunt my growth.
Do you have set commission structures? Is it different for everybody on your team? Do you have rules and guidelines?
Yeah, we're really structured on that. Everybody has the same split, because what I've found in my own experience in offices is when you had this split and you were sweet and got that split, and that kind of thing, it just created a whole lot of bad will. So everybody's on the same split. Because in real estate, you can make as much money as you want on the same split.
A lot of the people that I work with, they talk about, if I start a team, I feel like they won't stay unless I give them a break on the business that they bring in. How do you feel about that?
So on buyer transactions, it doesn't matter if it's your best friend or a stranger, they're paid the same on a buyer transaction. Now, on a listing, there is a 10% difference between the normal and that, but it has to be somebody that we know we would have never gotten that listing. So it can't be in a neighborhood that we, market to or something like that. You really have to demonstrate that it's your aunt, it's your mom, something like that.
Okay. So does anybody push back on like their splits, or they just accept it? They're pretty clear about everything.
So we had one agent that was wanting to join us that said she would only join us if she made more than everybody else. And we just said no. I mean,
Right.
You
have, I call it sort of like a prenuptial agreement. Like when they come in, how do you protect your business?
That is, there's 2 sides of that to me. First of all, a lot of it goes to the person joining the team. If they are not ethical, you're going to have a hard time enforcing whatever you have them sign. We do have it. We have something that is like a 6-page contract that they sign, I sign, and it's notarized. It says like all the leads belong to me. And if somebody contacts you within 3 years, you had to pay basically a referral fee, and it says how much off of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still depending on the person being honest.
Right, because it'd be hard to track that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and what it is like on the buy side, you don't know who the buyer is on a property in FMLS. Now on the listing side, we have no trouble. So let's say somebody just left the team and they get a listing the next week, we can pull the tax records and say, okay, that person is in our database. You were working with them last week on the team, that kind of thing. But on the buy side, it's a little bit harder because you don't find that information until after it closes.
Jenny, how profitable are you? Some people say, oh, these big teams, they aren't that profitable.
Oh my goodness. Now this has been a hard one for me because when I got in real estate, we were what you would call working class people. So there was no I have no choice but to be profitable, because if I can't pay the bills, I'm going to be bankrupt. Does that make sense? So but when I first got in real estate, I didn't have you can lose 100. Like I talked to somebody the other day and their business lost $100,000 this year. And I said, how? So we've always been profitable because we personally have to pay our bills.
So do you think big team, or this is a really kind of vague question, but can big teams be more profitable? Do you think that, you hear, they spend so much on advertising and bringing all the leads in that they would be more profitable if they were just a single agent?
Well, my point of view is when you're starting a business, is our profit level what we want it to be in 3 more years? No, because we're still building. But what we're finding now, after this will be almost 8 years, is a lot of the people that we sold houses to in the last 3 years, they're getting ready to sell based on average time. So we expect the profit level to go up because we're not reacquiring.
That's a great point. Great point.
Yeah,
more deals bring more happy clients.
Yes.
But that brings me to the next question. Another criticism of big teams is, we'll never see Jenny. It's disorganized. One person doesn't know what the other person's doing, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm a control freak. So I do usually know everything that's going on to a certain degree. Like yesterday, we had a deal going south, and I said, let me call and talk to her. So when I called her, I have not met her in person, but she has gotten emails from me. Like she got an email that is a video that said congratulations on going under contract, just a email like that with a video. So she had already heard my voice and seen my name. So when I called her, it wasn't like, who is this person I've never seen? I do a lot to make sure that anybody that's working with anybody on our team knows that I'm also on their team.
That you know what's going on and you're there for them if they need anything. Yes. And I think just knowing this about you, you have systems organized. So at some point they'd rather talk to someone who knows more about that particular situation than talk to you.
Yeah. And I tell everybody on the team, part of my job and why you're on the team is to let me help you get these to a closing table. So at the first sign of trouble, that's when you want to call me, not 3 weeks down the road. Let's try to fix it early, So they all do a good job of that because it's to their benefit. I mean, they want to get to the closing table as much as the buyer or the seller does.
So I know you're working on, with this amount of deals, repeat business. So I know your database and past clients are strong. What other ways does the team bring in business?
We're pretty active on Facebook. We've always been pretty active on Facebook, even when we weren't seeing anything from it. Like there was probably 2 years where we didn't really see any deals that we could go, oh, that came from Facebook. That's not the case now. Like it's kind of turned that corner. So one of the things, if you're going to run a team, you really do have to be long range thinking. Otherwise, you will go from one thing to the other before you ever see the results.
Super great point.
Yeah.
Because that's what I see, clients looking for the magic answer. They do something for 2 weeks, it doesn't work. So they're to the new thing without giving whatever they're trying a chance.
Yes. When we start a new lead source or program or something we're going to try, it's an 18-month commitment in my mind.
Oh, I love that. Yes. So do you spend money on Facebook advertising, or how do those leads come in?
We do spend money on advertising. Mainly, if we're spending money on advertising, it's on a listing. We're promoting the listing
Mhm.
because it's to my benefit that house sells quicker. So the more people that sees it, the better off it is for the seller as well as for us. And then, of course, if you have listings and you're promoting them, you're more than likely to pick up some buyers too. So a
Gotcha.
lot of our promotions run around what we currently have listing. Now, this year, we did add in what they call social proof. I had a hard time with that. I still
Mhm.
struggle with that
Mhm.
because my background is you don't brag, and social proof to me feels a whole lot like bragging.
So tell me more about the social proof aspect.
Well, like we're not big on putting every time we get a house under contract
Mhm.
or every time we sell a house, we don't necessarily put, it on Facebook every single time. We've done better with that this year.
Mhm.
But I'm not doing it for the month of December because I want the focus to be a little bit more on family
Mhm.
and the things that are important to me.
Mhm.
I'm not saying
I have to
anybody
bring
else
in what you sent to me, which was so cool. So what Jenny did was she sent me a personal video. It was around Thanksgiving time about how grateful she was for me and all the great things. And I know you did that probably did you do it for all your clients?
No, I did it for the top 10 people that had contributed to my life this year.
Thank you. I'm in the
Yeah.
love it. Well, I
Yeah.
just thought that was so meaningful, and I still think about it. And it just was so special, that special video. And I thought more and more special independent videos like that to even more than the 10 people.
Yeah, yes. And it is, I mean, we would consider adding more on, but
Mm-hmm.
at the time, this year has just been, it's been a tough year emotionally on everybody on some level.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought through the people who had helped keep me on track
Mm-hmm.
and moving in a positive way. Some people were business people, some people were personal people, and that's what I did.
Let's go back and just totally shift gears because we were talking a little bit about this before. Challenges that you've had in the past, things that you might want to tell others that would help them.
So one of the challenges that I do like to talk a little bit about, because in the moments, in months it was happening, I thought it was me. Because when I first got in real estate, I was coming from being a primarily stay-at-home mom, and staying home with my kids. I have 3 daughters, was really important. So like I would stay home as much as I could. Sometimes I'd have to go get a job to make the finances work, that kind of thing. But whenever I turned 40 and was like, what am I going to do with my life? And so when I decided to get my real estate license, the first office I joined was so tickled to have me for about 6 weeks. And then the dynamics in there really changed. And how I describe it now is they were bullies. And the more success I got, even though really and truly, Betty, it wasn't that great. It
Mm-hmm.
was just that the environment I was in, not much was happening there either. So,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't that I was like suddenly listing 10 houses or something, but they were mean. Like in meetings, if I said something, like one time I did get an award, like for, the high sales for the month. And she said, oh, it's just the church she goes to.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really bad. And, I came home and I told Chad, and, not, he didn't discount it, but he felt like I was too sensitive,
Gotcha.
so and he was not in real estate then, he had his business. So a couple weeks later, maybe a month or so later, he was in the office with me and nobody knew he was there. He was
Mm-hmm.
working on something,
Mm-hmm.
and he heard it, and he immediately said, we've got to leave. Like, this is not, you can't do this. But
Wow.
it clouded all my interactions
Uh-huh.
with real estate agents
Uh-huh.
to this day, because
Wow. Yeah.
it just made me so insecure around agents.
So maybe a little bit nervous to succeed because that would be some, you would put yourself up as a target for other
Yeah,
agents not to like you. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
So,
people, the more successful, the more, the people that aren't successful, they probably don't get that much criticism, right?
yeah, yes. And, like we had, but after that, with that being such a bad experience, the criticism that has came after that, like just recently, somebody said, I mean, you put your face on everything. I said, I know. And did you see my hair? It looked terrible. Like, I've gotten a lot better at interacting with it and not
Mhm.
taking it ownership of it as me personally.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. And it's like anybody in a public place is going to get that's successful is going to get criticism, right?
Yeah.
Just a
And
natural thing. Yeah,
And I promise you, I'm way more critical on myself than anything somebody else can tell me.
I hear you. And I was just thinking about some of the most successful people in my market. And, you go in and the agents are talking, oh, God, he makes no profit. Or can you believe he did this? Or this is ridiculous. I would never want to be him. Like just that kind of mentality. It's like what is it? The crab trying to get out of and the other people pulling him back, right?
Yeah. Yes. I will say in my local community, my brokerage, and a little bit further out, I have really poured into new agents. And it's coming from that bad experience with the experienced agents. But the new agents, I teach a lot of classes. I developed a three-hour CE class for new agents that I teach a couple
Mhm.
times a year. I'm kicking off a book series this year that any new agents can join. So in that group, they really support me because they feel like I'm supporting them.
That's fabulous. And, I know that what was when we were working together, some things that were very meaningful to me about you was always willing to grow and learn and reading the books, and then sharing that information with everybody. I love that.
Yeah, well, I always tell people that real estate has a bad reputation with the general public, but we're just a little bit above used car salesmen, you know. So if we can raise the standards for the industry
Hmm.
and make everyone more professional, more competent, more confident, that's good for all real estate agents as well as whoever that individual is. So a lot of times what I'm hoping to do is just give newer agents a new level of professionalism, competence, because whoever they're working with deserves that.
So as we end up our call, and thank you so much for being on the call, I really, really
Well,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
So, what advice do you have for someone just beginning a team?
So, the biggest piece of advice I would tell you is you have to be willing to put their business and their needs first. They need to feel like you're as committed to their success as you are to your success.
Fantastic.
And that is hard,
Yes.
es- especially in the months where it's slower, like first quarter of the year, because sometimes it means that you let them go ahead and take something so that their net numbers are met, because you're going to get paid something off of it instead of you just taking it, sometimes giving up something so that they are meeting their numbers. So,
Fantastic. Well, Miss Jenny Smith, I wish you a happy holiday and thank you again. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
well, thank you. This is my first ever interview.
All right. You're a
So,
star. A star is
yeah.
born.
Well, thank you, Betty. So, have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.